have another question about perseveration. This question is about perseverating on specific items. So for instance, we have somebody has a student and they are engaging in perseverative talk about one specific item. So constantly manding over and over and over again for the item. They will say no, they'll address it once, then they'll ignore the behavior, they've tried addressing it over and over again. They're just stuck, they don't know what to do.
Yeah, so the first thing to look at is what's the function? Looking at, is there an attention component? Do they I was actually talking with one of my staff yesterday, and the situation was the student would just request over and over and over again, like similar perseveratively about this. And they just assumed for a little while that, oh, I guess he wants to work for it. So he was asking for the same video over and over again. So he'd work the video. And then he got to the point where he got the video and he's like, I don't really want it. And they figured out that all that he really wanted was for them to repeat that after him. So if he said, I want the 2P and B new video, he just wanted to hear them say back, you're working for the 2P and B new video. And so that is more of an attention function, or, you could say tangible, because it's access to hearing that back. And it wasn't really about the item. So I think looking at the function could give you some really good information as to whether it's really about the item, or is it about that interaction that, no, you're not getting it now, remember, you're getting it later. So looking at that, I think, would be step one. And then the other thing is making sure that there's clear visual schedules, there's clear antecedent strategies in place so that they know when they're getting that item. What we did with this student is they can answer it once. So he got to hear it repeated one time. And then after that, they're trying to introduce tolerance and delay. So he has to wait. So he has to, first do a couple of responses and then they could say it. So they're trying to increase the tolerance and delay for his access to them repeating those phrases. We actually thought a cute thing to try. I don't know how it's going to go, but what we wanted to try is to put all of his phrases into a picture book. So he could work for looking at the picture book.
Cute.
And then he could choose a page and he's like, I want you to talk about this topic, and they'll say it as much as they want, but they could, make it more, contingent on him working for it. So to be updated, I don't know how that will go. But he's super perseverative. And so that's kind of the answer for that one, is look at the function and then make sure that the student knows the expectations and knows when they have access to what it is that they want out of that, and trying to limit your verbal responding. So because it could be an attention component, if you're redirecting them, you don't want to go into a whole negotiation of no, we already talked about that. Remember, I answered that question already. So maybe putting it into a visual where it just says not now, or we talked about this already, or something like that. And then trying to limit your verbal responses to that type of perseveration.
I had a student in a very similar situation, except he definitely attention component to it, but there's also an anxiety component. He was really anxious about a lot of things and when he was going to get something. So he would ask for an item, and same thing, Shira, we would address it and we would verbally answer it once, but at that same time we wrote it down. So whether that be on a calendar, whether it be on a piece of paper, wherever it was, we might put 3 p.m. equals iPad, or whatever it was. And then we would put it on the fridge, we would tell him to stick it in his pocket, wherever it was, on a visual schedule, etc. Sometimes if you put it on the visual schedule and it's there, it actually increases the perseverative verbalization because he can see it. But we would say, okay, write it down, throw it in your pocket, and then he'd ask again. And the only thing we would say is check your pocket. Completely neutral, check your pocket. Check your pocket. And that's all we would say. So we would still address him. We're not ignoring him. We're just ignoring the behavior.
Yeah, that's a big one. We say that a lot. Ignore the behavior, not the child.